before I start this video, I'm gonna get out of the way that I'm not a commentary channel, but I kind of saw this topic and I was like, that's kind of fucking stupid. So last video was it was essentially a video about Jaden Animations and her quote-unquote mockery of Christianity, which I don't know why I brought this up because this has literally zero correlation to this video. Anyway, so Sunny V2, one of my favorite YouTubers. I'm going to use the term favorite extraordinarily loosely, but I think he makes good content, and I believe Sunny V2 is extraordinarily talented, and he has a frankly great voice, especially for documentary and narration, which is why he excels at what he does. However, sometimes people can fuck up a little too hard, might I add. In my opinion, you have to fuck up pretty bad to bring D'Angelo Wallace out of a fucking 9-month hiatus. But the thing is the reaction from YouTubers like D'Angelo Wallace and even, Mr. Beast warranted at all? The answer is yes. And Sunny V2 has been kind of getting dunked on, and he hasn't said anything about it. But I digress. I kind of got off on a little tangent. Also, I'm sorry if while I'm talking you can hear like a literal train whistle in the background, because at like 11 at night, trains like to go through the railroad in my tiny ass town, and they're so fucking loud. Anyway, the video in question was posted by Sunny V2 on April 13th, titled, "Why Chris Will Soon Be a Nightmare for Mr. Beast." Now, to be fair, if Chris did something, pretty bad, which he may have, depending on if you're transphobic or not, you might view as, awful, which I think is stupid. Anyway, before editing this video, I have not even watched 30 seconds of this video, and within the first 30 seconds there's already some wild shit in here. The first 20 seconds are literally just introduction, so I'm gonna skip over that.
Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential Southern gun and truck loving dude. Yet beginning in March 2022, Chris began to display...
Okay, this right here is already a little wild because it's literally just Chris posting a picture of his nails getting done at a nail tech. Now, I don't get it, man. What the fuck is the issue? What is wrong with a dude painting their nails? Oh, right, nothing.
Chris began to show feminine traits more to his audience.
Motherfucker, brother, I promise you nobody gives a shit. I still don't see the problem. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm not built like that. Maybe it's actually a huge problem that guys like to paint their nails because it's more feminine. Just to be clear, I'm not labeling Sunny as any sort of term, by the way, because I know there's at least one person that's going to take this out of context.
Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic.
Sunny goes on to highlight a tweet that Chris made about the start of the pandemic versus, well, concurrently how he looks, which I would agree that Chris now concurrently looks more feminine, I guess if you want to put it that way, but he also, visibly looks much happier.
Quote, "Look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting replies such as, "You went from man to boy."
I'm sorry, this response from fucking Josiah Rises. This is corny as fucking shit. It's so corny. You went from man to boy. That's the same type of energy as those motherfuckers at work who try to make being miserable a competition. I'm on my 3rd unpaid shift. I haven't slept in 72 hours. That's the same type of energy fucking Josiah Rises gives off. Looks like the type of motherfucker that would unironically say liberal snowflake. I'm gonna go ahead and skip even further into the video because a lot of it is just highlighting changes in Chris's habits, such as him showing off that he's painting his nails more on Instagram and social media, and him not wearing his wedding ring, which is extraordinarily unimportant except for this one portion where Sunny decides to circle the entirety of Chris's fingers Like, he circles every single finger on one of Chris's hands to show that he's not wearing a wedding ring, which, if you didn't know, the wedding ring goes on the ring finger. Also, this last big chunk of the video is probably the last little bit I'm going to be going over, because a lot of the stuff later in the video is essentially just Sunny objectifying Chris. Sunny, for the rest of the video, essentially projects Chris as kind of a tool for viewership on the channel for some reason.
There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times.
Sunny does highlight some more personal tweets directed at Chris. I personally feel like people drastically overrate how important a father figure is. Granted, I do believe that having two parents is important to maintaining stability within your life from an early age. However, it can come from either gender. For example, if you have a parent that's far too strict, you're probably going to turn out like a strict asshole yourself. But if you have a disciplined parent/parents, you're probably going to come out, well, more disciplined, and in turn being more organized and being more orchestrated with your work.
Weak man times. Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I know I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker." Chris's—
You know, what I don't understand is why people like to push the agenda that children aren't safe around trans people, just like Chris tweeted back to fucking Live with Evan. Because, you know, Chris legitimately seems like a good parental figure, and Chris even states that himself, that he feels like a better parental figure now that he's undergone this hormone injection treatment. Which leads into an entirely different debate in and of itself, because a lot of people are like, there's no evidence that hormone injection treatment can help you with depression. And trans people have a higher suicidality rate than, you know, other people. And I'm going to go ahead and debunk this real quick before I move on. No, that's not the case. In terms of percentile, trans suicidality has remained the same for the past 30 to 40 years. And there is more suicidality because there are more trans people that are being documented. And I personally advocate that documentation is among one of the most important things and important skills you can hone throughout your entire life. And I don't know if some people know this. However, you know, there are more people in the world, which means to more people committing suicide. That's just how it works. And it really sucks that people honestly end their own life, because I believe that is among one of the most demoralizing and depraving things to hear, that somebody has ended their own life. And with all the information that we have access to, it's just so, it's all being documented. Therefore, trans people, straight people, gay people, bisexual, poly people, they're all going to have higher suicide rates compared to 30, 40 years ago. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm done with the side tangent. Back to the video.
Such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you, and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life. As well as, I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet
You know, it's actually really nice to see that there are a lot of people supporting Chris in this endeavor. Even, you know, YouTube itself tweeted out at Chris,
You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house. A life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure? Although Chris...
You know, what really bothers me is that it seems a lot of the people giving Chris backlash don't really care about the well-being of his child. Now, personally, nobody really knows what happened between Chris and his wife. He could have divorced his wife because he was feeling trans, which I have my own opinions about. But realistically, the only thing that matters is the well-being of the child. And it seems like Chris's wife, ex-wife, probably, I don't know, they seem like great parents, especially, you know, the wife, and Chris has stated that he feels like a better parental figure now. And what's important is that Tucker received the stability that he needs in the household. Now, I'm not going to spin it in any way, but father figures are incredibly important. But parents are important in general. It doesn't matter what gender the parents are, as long as they're providing their kid with a stable, safe, and healthy home. And if kids at school are making fun of Tucker, or will make fun of Tucker later on because his father is trans, that just kind of seems like a problem on the parents' side. And I don't mean Tucker's parents, I mean the parents of the other children that may or may not make fun of him. Because brother, it's 2023, we should be teaching our kids about these things, right? They don't really teach anything about transgender or the LGBTQIA community in school. And I'm of the opinion that in history classes, especially in like American history classes, I believe this should be taught to a degree, especially because it is a huge part of our society now that, everyone is becoming much more accepting and loving towards those who are in the LGBTQIA community. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to agree with my take on that, but I just think it should be taught now because, and I'm only saying because it's so prevalent within our society now, because everyone's coming out much more, not just being trans, being gay, homosexual, bi, poly, you name it, as long as it's not illegal, of course.
In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe.
Okay, man. Look, I'm against like body shaming and making fun of how people look, but this dude's name is fucking M Alpha. What is that profile picture? This motherfucker is sitting here. It's like,
Hope you come out of this safe.
why wouldn't he come out of this safe?
Mr. Beast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life.
This motherfucker gets ratioed into oblivion by Mr. Beast, and then he's like,
I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me.
and then he claims that, he'll rest easy because apparently he's not a coward for watching a friend sit by and ruin his life. I guess I just don't understand how converting to something that makes you happier and is safe for, everyone around you. I don't understand how that ruins your life, but hey, go off, I guess. Well, that's pretty much all I have to talk about for this video, because a lot of people that I've seen make content based on the Sunny V2's video mainly focus on like the second half of it, which talks about the infamous Mr. Beast stream, where apparently Jimmy looks extraordinarily uncomfortable, and so does Chandler, which he kind of doesn't. Jimmy just looks fucking exhausted. Anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about for now, so see ya.